What's going on, Illumineers, and welcome back to the madness. Today's video, as you can see, is not a Steelsong guide. It's not part 4. It is coming, but with Vegas just around the corner coming up this weekend, I thought it'd be a fun time to talk about what will be, in my opinion, the decks that show up the most at Vegas, but also at the end, we'll talk about the decks that I think will be the most successful. And then I'll put my prediction on what color I think will win it. But with that being said, this video, it's pretty much just if you're headed to Vegas, if you're getting ready for set champs, these are going to be decks that if you wanted to pick up and start practicing, you'd be in a good place going into any event if you picked up these decks. Just because they are strong in the current meta, they can switch to different metas, and they're just strong. Some of them are a little bit harder to pick up and pilot effectively, but if you wanted it, you'd have time now to at least start getting ready for set champs. But with that being said, in no particular order right now, let's jump into it. And our first one is Lemon Lime Discard. I this is a list that I picked up off of Inktable on a recent tournament, and you guys know it. You guys saw it at Toronto, and when it won Toronto, and it ran something very similar to this, except it wasn't running Your Welcome because Your Welcome wasn't out yet. Lemon Lime discard. You're really just making them discard their hands. It's a lot like Bucky in the sense that it needs a really strong start. You're looking for very specific cards on your mulligan, but it doesn't automatically get beat out like Bucky did if you didn't get the strong start or if you got rid of their strong start, things like that. There's a lot of different ways the deck can come back. Muses offering the ability to bounce the Ariels, bounce Ursulas, all this different stuff. It really relies on Prince John, but it also has Your Welcome now to draw you cards as well. You have Cricky to, if you need to fight the board, you can fight the board with Cricky. Of course, one of the most powerful, in my opinion, one of the most powerful removal combos in the game. You got Kita into Under the Sea, and that's just super. Throw it all to the bottom of the deck again. So everything it's doing is just really effective and really irritating. And I think it really shines in a DLC when it's best of 2 because it has time to play out. You don't have to rush in a best of 3. If it goes to game 3, Lemon Lime discard takes so long that game 3 is going to be really rushed. You're going to have to maybe you'll end up drawing. One person will have to give up because Lemon Lime discard, they're not questing the 20 anytime soon. It's like, all right, well, let me quest for 1 here, and 15 turns later, let me get to 20. But just a really strong deck. You can play on the side of a psychology thing of just discard and people hate it, slow roll them. But what it does it really effectively. So I don't think we'll see a lot of it, but and that's only because it requires a very unique playstyle. But I think it's going to be really effective at the DLC, just because it's strong into a lot and weak against very little. So I think we'll see a lot of it. We got the toolbox, all right, the green purple toolbox, and we can not really making that much bigger. So personally, I'm a fan of this kind of version over the more toolboxy version of running a lot of 2s, some 1s, some 3s, very little 4 ofs. I just think this is more consistent outside of something like Pixelborn Connect. That's just, when you go to a best of 2, when you go to a tournament, like a really big tournament, like what the DLC is, you're not going to have the advantage of seeing what everyone's playing. So all those best of 2 or all of those 2 ofs and stuff, you're not going to be able to hard mulligan for those. So I think the more consistent version with the more 4 ofs is going to be the more consistent version to get you big wins. Now in your local meta, when you know what everyone's playing, there's a bigger argument to run the toolbox version because you know what you're playing against, you know what you can hard mulligan for. For example, I played someone yesterday running this. He knew what I was playing because he just knew because there was not a lot of people. So he hard mulligan twice to get as many Ursulas in his hand as he could because I was running Steelsong. And that's just something you can do when you know what everyone's playing. So day 2, this might be more effective, but day 1, it's going to have a little bit harder time when you don't know what anyone's playing. So Abby, say hello. This is Abby. But moving on, it's gonna have a big showing. It's just a good deck. It's good into Steelsong. Anything that runs Ursula is great into Steelsong. Lyle can give the Flavershams um, reckless, so they have to attack into something, and then they can't draw with their Flaversham. Um, you can just do a lot of different stuff. You have draw from friends, you have draw from rabbit, from your welcome. You're questing with these evasives just one at a time, but it's still questing for one. And then crab, just such a great trade weapon. So, but yeah, I will add this Arta Box. I may have said his name wrong. He recently built a guide. It's on his Patreon. So if you guys looked him up on 20 Lore, the Discord, you can probably anyone can get you there. And if you wanted to check out that guide, I'd highly recommend it. I've heard really good things about it. So next up on our list is the Hyper Aggro. This is just a list I pulled off of Dreamborn. Um, so it's kind of the first one I saw that I liked. But what are you doing? You're just laying down one drops. I mean, if we look at it, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 different one drops here. Uh, that like you're just trying to flood the board with one drops. It's as simple as that. Then when they wipe you, you've got the Donald Duck to get you an extra lore and a bodyguard. You've got the Baloo, which is a free 2 lore. There's no way you get around the 2 lore gain, the gathering knowledge for 2 lore gain. You have the Amethyst Chromacon. Who cares if they draw a card because you just want to draw cards. And just, yeah, it's not much to say about it. You just lay down stuff and hope it goes well. I will say that this deck would be more successful in something like your local meta, just because it's best of 3 typically. In a best of 2 format, this deck will suffer a little bit more, only because this deck is so powerful on the play and it gets a lot weaker on the draw because everybody's quick that much better at getting their removal for your characters. But we're going to see hyper aggro. We'll probably see a hyper aggro make day 2 just because the deck, it's good. It gets to 20. So that's the goal. Next up on our list, we got red, purple, or known as Jund, if I said that correctly. It's a Magic the Gathering term for anyone who doesn't know. Essentially, it's a deck that just does what it does very consistently, and it's not bad into really anything. It's not super great into really anything. It's just a really good deck. There's not much to say on this. The only things they've really added are the libraries, and they've added back crabs for trade because, well, crab is just a phenomenal card. Now your magic broom that you don't want to draw, maybe now your magic broom can take out, a lot of stuff because it has four attack thanks to crab. Your crab and your fox takes out a big Cindy. Just a lot of opportunities here. Of course, you got your bounce and goat. You play you play the library, you move everything to it. When you're playing against Steelsong and make them draw you cards. Big Sizu for the Steelsong matchups. I wouldn't recommend. You could probably go up to 2, like 3 B preps and 2 big Sizus, but I wouldn't recommend more than 2, just because big Sizu is going to be really useless into a lot of different decks. But one thing it will be good to is this Amber Emerald, this lemon lime discard. So if you're afraid of that and you're afraid of Steelsong, maybe there is a good argument to go 3 and 2. They can't rip that Sizu, right? So, but yeah, not much to say on that. Just a really effective deck. We're seeing it do very well. We're going to continue seeing it do very well. And if you played it last set, if you were successful with it last set, you'll be successful with this set. So just a good deck that you can still rely on to do, you know, Jund things. The next one I have on here is the Pete Repeat, or I just called it Purple Steel Repeat. This, I couldn't find a list, so I just kind of searched one on the 20 Lore Discord, and this was one of the more recent ones I found. Looking at it, one thing right off the bat for me is I would switch out the Mickey's for Chernobogs, but that's neither here nor there. What is the deck trying to do? It's just trying to be a good tempo deck. I'm going to lay something down every turn. I'm going to quest to 20 eventually, while also trying to control the board with things like Smash and Zeus and Foxes with Crabs. You got Lawrence But ultimately, if you're playing against something like Steelsong, you can do fun things like go fox. You can go Pete, and then you can go fox into Pete, and then you can go crab into Pete, and just play Pete over and over and over and over again. And hopefully, they don't have any big bodies on board that can punish you for that. And that is one thing to keep in mind. Playing Pete every single turn is really effective against Steelsong, but it sure doesn't matter if you're only playing one character per turn to do something. Because if I just don't exert my characters, then you can't do anything. Like you're literally just gonna sit there and maybe quest for one next turn with Fox, and then quest for one next turn with Snake. So don't get stuck on if you play Steelsong thinking, okay, I just need to play Pete every single time and I'll win. No, you will lose. Like if your win con against Steelsong is to just play Pete over and over and over again, you will lose the game. So just something to keep in mind. If anything, you're trying to slow them down so you can get to Chin Pose and get to Tinkerbells and try and win that way. So just it's a really effective tempo deck, and I think one that does isn't really bad into a whole lot. Again, it's purple, so purple's never really bad, like super bad into anything, because as long as you have all these bounce rabbit, bounce goat, you have really effective answers to stuff. And then now you also have bounce Pete. So just a good tempo. If you want this list, it's in the 20 Lord Discord, or you can copy that QR code down here. Our next one is Steelsong. I just grabbed DeCandio's list because right now DeCandio's list is the one that's seen the most success. And we've talked about this before. I've talked about it on my channel. We're just getting the Lantern down, getting, Naveen down early, getting Cindy's down early. Robin Hood's now costs 4. You can just do a whole bunch of stuff. So I won't dive too deep into it, but this is kind of Steelsong, Red Blue are kind of the decks to beat right now, right? When we're building our decks, how do we best secure our victory against them? On that note, this and the next one I'll hit, Red Blue, are also some of the most popular decks that beat themselves. So how do I do well enough against them to let them beat themselves is always a good question to ask. But yeah, Steelsong, it's going to probably be this, and red purple will probably be the biggest percentage of the meta, I would think, just because um, people have seen Steelsong do really well, and so they're going to get attracted to that. And then people played a lot of red blue or red purple last set, so people are attracted to that. But the next one on the list, of course, is Sizu on ice. Red blue Sizu control. It's just a powerhouse of a deck, right? Like everything this deck does is doing well. Your best way to beat this deck is either play hyper aggro or hope that they brick. Like that's kind of it. Like it is such a great deck, and unfortunately, bricking does happen quite often for them, especially in smaller events. And I only say that because bigger events, when you see people operating this on day 2, they've played it a lot. They've put in the reps, and they're doing really well. But the deck, everyone knows what it's trying to do. Everyone was afraid of it last set. Everyone continues to be afraid of it this set. I'm going to ramp with things like Tippo, um, one jump ahead. I'm going to search for stuff with vision, or sorry, one jump ahead, search for stuff with visions. I'm going to brawl your stuff. I'm going to seize your stuff. Against Steelsong, maybe you can even. I played a match the other day where he had 2 ice blocks down. Turn 1 was an ice block. Turn 2 was an ice block. And then turn 3, he Sisu, and then he top decked another Sisu. And he took out 2 big Robin Hoods with ice block Sisu, and that was disgusting and annoying. But it's just silly things that the deck can do because of Ice Block. Like Ice Block's such an effective card. So now, Sailor, he's on 2 B preps, 4 big Sizus because you can play Pete. I don't care. I'm going to play Sisu, and I'm going to Ice Block, your Naveen down and something else, your Robin Hood down, and then now Sisu wipes your board. So just trying to survive to get those big Tamatoa turns or tempo them out with you play a Sizu to quest and starts questing for 3. You play the Cusco to take out the location, start questing for 2. Whatever it may be. So just a really strong deck and one of the best going into the DLCs in my opinion. So I will say that I think it's Jay Baum, maybe. He did a guide on this. I think it's like 40 pages long. And if you wanted that guide, you can find him on the 20 Lore Discord. You can go to Sizu on Ice and ask there, or just go to General and ask there and get that guide. I've heard, again, phenomenal things about it. Anytime JDRR tells me that something's good, I really believe him. And he said this guide was really good. So I believe him. I just haven't bought it. I probably should just to get a look into red blue. Same with Arta's green purple guide. But the last one on here we have to mention is Blue Steel. I think we're still going to see this deck pop up. Yeah, it's still a really strong deck. It's still doing what it's doing very well. They've changed some things. They've had a really tough time so far this meta because, as you know, Blue Steel it runs maybe what 30 cards, and then the rest is kind of um, tech, and so it can tech kind of into any meta and just do what it wants to do. And right now, it's kind of leaning towards let me have a little bit of early game, let me get down ramp to a Chin Po, and then to protect my aerial. And then next turn, maybe I play Lucky Dime, and now I'm racing red blue with an aerial and Lucky Dime. And go ahead, you can't. The only way you're getting rid of my aerial is you have to have B prep. And oh, you're only running 2 B preps now. So aerial, just that's a big way that they're trying to beat red blue. One of their harder matchups is let me race you with aerial, let me abuse you, trying to fight back against Pete. Of course, you've got the Crunk, that doesn't die to Zeus because he has resist 1, the Tinkerbell with the grab your swords to clear pretty much any board. Of course, the Cogsworth giving resist 1 and just being annoying. Um, we see the Rise of the Titans, and Rise of the Titans is a really cool idea that Harlan had, and I don't know if I'm going to be correct when I say this, but when you're on the play, and you have Rise of the Titans in your hand, if you're playing against Steelsong and they play Lantern on turn 2, you can use turn 3 to play Rise of the Titans. And that's going to be a massive play because it slows them down an entire turn. Like there's a good chance their entire turn 2 was that Lantern. So now they just can't do anything. And I don't know if that's where Harlan was going with it, but I also know that Cusco has a disadvantage of putting it in their Inkwell. So that, maybe why there was maybe a couple reasons why Harlan's cutting, Rise of the Titans for, or sorry, cutting Cusco for Rise of the Titans. The Rise of the Cannons, of course, to take out, the shift targets for Steelsong, things like that. But I think it's still a really good deck. We have a couple of appearances that I think will be there. I just there's a good chance we'll see them in day 2. I just don't think there's going to be a whole lot of them, and the people playing them will be people that have been playing them for a really long time. The green steel tempo, anything that runs Ursula in a really heavy steel song meta or a really heavy song meta is going to be it's going to be good. And green steel tempo is doing a lot of what, purple steel tempo is doing, except it can't bounce like that. So I think purple steel is going to be a little bit more consistent, but it's still going to do good stuff. We're going to probably see some Ruby Fossas because if you can get down Mufasas and stuff into red blue, into um, red purple, then that Mufasa is going to be strong if they have to be prep. Um, but it does suffer into, in my opinion, it suffers into Steel Song because you're going to lose all your Rapunzel targets, and you're just going to have to hope that you can live long enough to get to your big characters. We're going to probably see some Steel Fossa, of course, the Amber Steel Fossa. Uh, Blue Fossa or Blue Green, the Mufasa, is getting super popular on people are streaming it a lot, and so because of that, people will take it, but I don't picture it doing well at all. I think it's one of those decks that it has a slow early game and it has a slow late game. So what is it doing well? Uh, Well, that's my question for you guys. And in my opinion, it's not doing anything really well. But it's cool to have Clarabelle and it has Mufasa's and stuff. But It has no good removal, which means because it has no good removal, decks just go super wide against it. As long as you stay with characters above 2 health, they can't under the CU. Maybe they run ice blocks, but um, purple, it's trying to go wide, so any red deck just has B preps for you. It's just it has a bad late game, it has a bad early game, and so what is it good at? The hope that it gets the early Mufasa, so the perfect hand maybe. But yeah, so I think we'll see it because it's popular on stream and people are doing well with it. I just don't think it's going to do very well. And then finally, Blurple. I think I honestly I should probably have Blurple up here. I really think I should. Um, and because everything that Blurple does is just really neat. And I'll kind of just throw this on here from the 20 Lord Discord of kind of an example. This is just the first one I found. Looking at it, this isn't exactly the list I would go with, but the idea, this is not the list I would go with at all. The idea of Blurple, though, you're just trying to ramp and get to these bigger characters. This is more what I'm looking for. You're just trying to get the ramp with the Tippo, with the Mickey, with the Donald Ducks, and get, just do a lot of stuff, bounce a lot of characters, get some really good trades. Maybe you get a turn 6 Mufasa and start doing crazy stuff with that. So when you look at it, it's not doing anything crazy. And I think Blurple is the perfect definition of good into everything, great into nothing, bad into nothing. I will say though, and I think the reason I didn't put Blurple on here is just because Blurple, if you make one mistake with Blurple, you probably lost the game with that one mistake. And because Blurple has no immediate removal. It has Hades and maybe Yzma, but if you play Hades, you give them an ink. If you play Yzma, you give them card draw. So it has no great removal, so you can't afford to make mistakes. You have to constantly control the board, you have to make great trades, and you can't get super greedy because if you get greedy and they punish you, then there's no way for you to come back. So that's just something to keep in mind if you do consider Blurple is that it is a zero mistake deck. Um, it's a zero mistake deck, but it's consistent and it is good. So if you want to, the 20 Lord Discord has a bunch of examples of it. And this is kind of an example of what you might see or what you might run. But yeah, so what do I think I think the best decks that are going to have the most success is going to be Steel in no order. Steelsong, the red purple, the red blue, and green yellow. I think we'll see a lot of green purple um, make top cut because I think we'll see a lot of green purple there. But I think these are going to be the decks that have the best shot at getting rank one, or not rank one. Sorry, excuse my Hearthstone talk, but the best decks for really succeeding and getting to day two. And I hate saying the deck that I think will win it, but I really do think that the deck that wins it is either going to be Lemon Lime or Sizu Control. As long as Sizu Control doesn't brick itself, and it feels like an almost unbeatable deck, and it's the same with Lemon Lime. It, in that, it doesn't have any bad matchups. Like a deck that focuses on discard is going to have very few bad matchups. So if it has the perfect start, then nothing really has a chance against it except for red blue, because red blue can get to that 7 ink fast enough to be able to top deck a B prep or get to 8 ink to top deck a Sizu, and then they have the ability to come back and win the game. And maybe that's a reason why Jund or Red Purple has a really good chance against Lemon Lime as well, because it does have the B prep. It just can't ramp as fast as Red Blue Sizu Controlled can. So Red Blue Sizu Control will immediately dump their hand into ramp, whereas Red Purple can't do that. So it's going to take a little bit longer for them to get to the big Sizu and the Red Purple, whereas Red Blue can do it relatively quick. So I think it will be one of these two decks that win it, though. I think Sizu Control or Lemon Lime. I think Sizu Control because of Cusco is such a powerful card. Steelsong has a chance because it can go under red blue. red purple Jund just because if, well, the same thing. It can just do what it does, be prep, all that stuff. If it doesn't bring back Lady Tremaines, I don't think it will win. I think Lady Tremaine is really one of its only good ways to answer Tamatoa, but against red blue. But and then of course green lime discard or lemon lime discard. But yeah, I have these two picked as my winners. So with that being said, super long video, actually shorter than a lot of my videos on Steelsong, but a longer video. But I just wanted to put something out there that showed you guys what a lot of the more popular decks are right now, a lot of the more successful decks are right now, and kind of give you guys an idea of what we'll probably see at Vegas, what you're going to be seeing at your set champs, and also, just kind of mention some of these guys that have guides out there. Arda, if you didn't know, is kind of the godfather of green purple. And so his guide, like I said, I've heard phenomenal things. And, over here we got J Bomb, who has done phenomenal things as well. Um, and Blurple JDRR has a guide on the 20 Lore Discord that is free. I've posted my guides and I'm not going to say I'm on the same level as JD or J Bomb or these other guys, but I posted my guides on my YouTube channel if you guys wanted to see those. Jund, El Rython, somewhere along those lines, posted a really good guide for set 4 that still reads a lot. It's still going to be relatively the same because nothing changed. So check those things out. Let me know in the comments. Do you guys have any questions, thoughts? Am I dead wrong? Do I not know anything? And Hyper Aggro is going to win the whole, Vegas. Let me know. Let me know what I may have forgotten. I'd love to talk to you guys about it because I love talking about this stuff. But yeah, I'll see you guys around. Hope I see you on the stream or in the comments. With that, everyone, I'll end the same way I always do. Happy and healthy. That's the goal every single day, whether you're focusing on mental health, physical health, or both. If you do focus on even one of them, happiness will follow. I promise. It's proven. That's the goal. All right. Happy and healthy. So, ladies and gentlemen, Illumineers, I am out. Until next time.